The Return to Learn starts today at CPS, with some families still having some issues with technology. To talk about that, we are joined this morning by CPS Superintendent Dr. Peter Stiefelman. Thank you so much for being on with us this morning.
Good morning to you.
So first, can you talk about what we were talking about in the A block with Brittany? And she talked a bit about those tech issues with iPads. As of right now, what's the status of that problem this morning?
Yeah, what a weekend, right? I mean, on Friday night, we discovered that something had happened to our iPads and they could not connect. And so over the weekend, we spent Saturday, Sunday, talking with our third-party vendor, which I'm sure you'll want to know a little bit more about, but we've been talking with them, trying to figure out what happened, what on their end did they do to interrupt our connectivity. And so on Monday, we spent the entire weekend trying to figure this out, and our team has been marvelous. And so they discovered that they could work around what had been an issue with the vendor so that families could be able to connect and be ready for today, which is the first day of school. And so you just want everything to go well. And of course, you know, we're going all virtual, which is in itself an overhaul of education as we know it. And the worst thing that you could happen is to have your technology not work the weekend beforehand.
Yeah, I'm sure. And will this pose any problems with the first day of classes today? Are you anticipating that?
Well, I think with any first day, you anticipate problems, whether it's the bus doesn't come to pick you up, or it came too early, or came too late, or your schedule was off. So we anticipate problems as you might expect any first day. So I can tell you that in terms of if you've had it fixed, if you've either watched the video that we sent out to you, which was done by one of our media specialists from Rockbridge Elementary School, which was just wonderful. Whether you came to our open house last night, we had hundreds of families here getting their iPads fixed, or today, anytime between 7:30 and 4:30 at any one of the middle schools, and then again this evening, 5 to 7 back here at our home office, we can help you get it fixed. So while we don't anticipate any real problems in terms of if you got there could be problems, and we're here to help.
And will students be penalized at all if there are any issues with the first day of classes today?
Absolutely not. We want to make sure that everybody gets online and gets settled and gets set up. I know my own children have been receiving their emails from their teachers welcoming them back to their classes. We're getting to those, I'm not sure exactly what the first day photos will look like. I guess everybody in front of a computer. But I mean, for us and for families all across Columbia, we're all trying to get this together. And no, we will not penalize anyone for not being able to get going today.
And now iBoss is that third-party vendor that your district is using for those iPads. Can you explain what iBoss is?
Yeah, so a few years ago, we wanted to put in different types of filtering for different levels, elementary, middle school, and high school. And so apparently they were working to shift the load, knowing that 19,000 students and 3,000 employees were going to be getting on. Possibly a better question that I think you might be wanting to ask: was that the weekend to shift everything, or should they have done it the weekend before? So in case anything should pop up as a problem, we could have anticipated and taken care of it. But in this case, they shifted it on Friday and then took the long weekend and then left it for our team to spend all weekend trying to fix it. But that's what it does.
So in yesterday's updates, the district did say that iBoss, which is that third-party vendor for filtering, changed the district's presets on Friday. Now, was CPS aware of those changes ahead of time, and should that have been done?
That's a question I think that's easily answered. No, we were not told that it was going to be done, and yes, they should have told us. Lots of people use vendors for lots of different reasons. They use them for payroll, they use them for taxes, they use them for landscaping, and we use one here in technology. We have a number of vendors, and yes, it was, I believe, their obligation to let us know before Friday and before a long weekend when we discovered it and we're working till midnight on Friday night trying to figure out what exactly happened. That it not be on a long weekend where then nobody is home to answer your questions. And so, as you might expect with any vendor, we're going to be talking with our rep and ask for some understanding and really talk through what should that relationship look like. Because anyone who's a business owner who has vendors relies on a good relationship with their vendor to get the very best service. And right now, we didn't get that for our community. And it made us look bad, and it made families really frustrated because school's starting today. And today's a big day. It's an absolute change to how education looks. It's an overhaul that took 4 months to put together, and then the weekend before it doesn't work? Not okay.
And what is CPS able to do in that type of situation? Does it all depend on what iBoss, the vendor, does?
Yeah, so what we've had to do is essentially work around what they were putting together. And that's why, Amy McKenzie, one of our media specialists from Rockbridge Elementary, who had some good directions from our own tech team and put together a quick video, which essentially was, here's our workaround. This is how we're going to make sure that every kid has access. So, our conversations with iBoss have to continue, and we have to get things together and figured out. But we didn't have time for that. We had to make sure that our families had the access to technology, because it's an all virtual learning as we open up school today. And so if you can't access our systems, then you can't actually access your classroom and your learning. So as you might expect, this has been an incredibly frustrating weekend, although a great team that has come together to make sure that we got it all together.
I'm sure. And could those kind of updates happen throughout the year, hopefully with some more heads up?
Right? So why the weekend? Why the weekend before school's supposed to start? And I get it. I think what they were trying to do was to balance the load with so many kids coming onto our system. But they should have done that way before this. And so, we'll keep working through it. There are always things that happen on the first day of school. We didn't anticipate this one, but of course we worked through the weekend to make sure we would be in a good place. And if it's not working for you, we'll have people available. So we have our help desks. We have a student help desk that we're putting together today. So students may be calling because parents are at work and they are trying to figure out. So we have a student help desk. We have a parent help desk. We have our teams at every one of our middle schools from 7:30 to 4:30 tonight. And then back at our own office here from 5 to 7 tonight, we'll be here helping anyone. And I know you asked in the first segment, but people are getting up. There's no one will be penalized if they can't get on today. We're going to make sure that we try to do everything we possibly can to get everyone on.
That's great to hear. And now, have there been any other technical difficulties you've run into while preparing for this online learning today?
Yeah, so, this was pre-K through 8th grade is the iPads, right? And so with 9 through 12, we have laptops. And so this pop-up kept happening with Microsoft that said, your license has expired and you're supposed to do something. And so it's more of a nuisance than anything else, but you can just decline it. And over time, if you just shut down and restart, it will go away. But that's also a problem, because I could imagine somebody opening up their device and going, Dad, Mom, what do I do about this? And so that's a frustration as well. That was also brought on by iBoss. So, but we'll get through this.
So you've said that special ed classes will actually be in person, barring some sort of stay-at-home order. Will those all be in one building, and how are those teachers preparing differently?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that question, because I think it's important to note the special ed classrooms that are district-wide. So these are district-wide programs where it would have been what we learned a lot in the spring was that it was very difficult for a child who's incredibly medically fragile to be able to access an online platform. And so in working with families who asked for us to consider doing it in person, we made that decision to do that. I will note, though, that we've had at least one where we had a staff member test positive, and so we've had to close the classroom for the next 14 days. So it's one of those things that I think the community, we need to talk a little bit more about in terms of not just positivity rates, not just the number of cases that are increasing. 221 on Saturday alone, but also just the number of staff that we have who have either been told to quarantine because they're positive or because they're considered a close contact. So already we're at about 100 of our staff members who are quarantining now for 14 days because they've either tested positive or they're a close contact. So if anyone is questioning whether or not the rise is community widespread, it absolutely is.
Wow, definitely scary. And how will food deliveries work today, and what students are able to access that food?
Oh, great question. Yeah, so we have 80 bus stops that are going to be starting today to make sure that children have access to food. You can't learn if you're hungry. And so this is also for children who are on free and reduced lunch. And also, there are families right now who are situationally struggling. We recognize that an online platform is not ideal, particularly for families who are trying to figure out how to balance childcare. Right? We're not a child care facility, but we are a reliable and safe place for children to learn and to prepare them for the future. But at the same time, families are trying to balance their work schedules with their children's work schedules of learning, as well as there are some families who have either closed their businesses or have lost work. And so they are situationally in a situation where food delivery could be the difference between a child eating and not eating. And so nobody will be turned away. We have a waiver through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education that has been extended. And so if a child comes to one of the bus stops, we'll be able to feed them. Now, of course, they might be learning at that time. And so we'll want them to contact us to make sure that, we'll either figure out how to get them their food or they can grab and go at one of our schools. And so we'll be working this out with families to make sure that children have access to food.
Great to hear. And then now switching gears to sports, how have in-person sports been going so far? And have there been any cases of COVID-19 within the sports?
Yes. So sports have been going okay. I mean, we've had 2 weekends of Friday night football. It's interesting to see how other communities have decided to comply with our rules, because we have very strict rules in Boone County and within our own school district. So we have to have our plans approved by the health department in terms of being able to make sure that we can keep everybody as safe as possible. So those protocols are vetted and approved by the health department. So sports have been going fine. But we have had cases. We've had cases where a student has tested positive and we've had to have the team quarantine. We've had cases where, so that is a reality that we've had. That has not been in football during the actual season right now, but over the summer when we had just small groups of students, student athletes training, that we did have cases. So that is our reality.
Definitely. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have right now. Thank you so much again for joining us this morning, Dr. Stiefelman.
Have a great first day of school, everybody. We can do this. We got this.
Happy first day. Enjoy it.